That's cool. All right, hitting go live. What's going on, everybody? We are back. It's been a few weeks. It's been actually been almost a full month
Yeah.
since we've been live. But hi, we're back. Jacob, Donovan, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. We've had a lot of growth on the channel recently, so we really appreciate all y'all that have come in new. I know we had that big video like that hit like 3,500 I think last week.
Yeah, that was
Courtesy
crazy. Y'all went crazy on
courtesy
that.
of this man right here. So shout out to y'all on that. 20 away from 1,000 subscribers. So if y'all haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean a whole lot to us, especially on the holiday season. We give y'all hopefully entertaining content. Hopefully y'all like us. If not, kill yourself. Otherwise,
Bro, what?
otherwise, otherwise, we
Oh
appreciate y'all.
my
Thank you for
god.
being here. Obviously, as y'all can see, we're here to talk about the Ravens. Here to talk about Lamar Jackson, how to stop him, how to stop this Ravens team, best team in the league currently. Just destroyed the 49ers, completely killed Brock Purdy's MVP case in a single game. I think, look, I don't want to get started into this conversation quite yet, but I mean, Lamar Jackson's the MVP. Like that's the
That
only
I think it's
correct answer.
clear. If you had betting odds right now, I given I don't know the exact betting odds. I know Lamar is the favorite,
And
but
rightfully
it
so.
rightfully so. I would probably put between CMC and Tua the next two. I think it's actually Josh Allen that's favored over Tua right now, which I think is kind of weird, but ball.
I I mean, I guess depends on where you look at. Like right now, obviously Lamar is the front runner, and then it's kind of a host of three or four guys. Between no particular order, Tua, Tyreek, CMC, Josh Allen. Like those are the next guys, and then probably Brock
Hmm.
Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's completely fallen off a cliff. That offense looked better with Sam Darnold out there in the brief stint he was out there, albeit the Ravens were kind of playing prevent. But again, that's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll get into. Donovan, we haven't been here live, partially because 2 of those weeks you were dying one way or another. So
Yeah,
we are we all over our ailments? Are we feeling better?
we're all over the ailments. We're over the ailments. It's funny. The first week we were just both not really feeling it because of the Titans game. Kind of
It's part
on
of it.
a,
Yeah.
a depression,
And you had
and
like a little
then
cold.
little colds kind of knocked me out every single day. I got home. I just went to sleep. And then yeah, the other thing.
Yeah, other little medical thing, which we'll spare y'all the details. And also,
Yeah,
you had your work event, which big boy matters,
yeah.
priorities. But here we are. We are back. And like I said, we are back for this Ravens week, which is a lot easier to go into now that we know for 100% fact that we are going to be in the playoffs. Like you and I have been talking, like, look, there is still a possibility that we miss the playoffs. Obviously, maybe I bought into that much more than you did, but
Way
you can't
more.
you can't deny if we had lost that game against the Jets, it would have looked pretty bleak. You can't lie.
You talking about the Jets or Cowboys?
No, I'm talking about the Jets. If we had, if you lost against the Cowboys, that
Mm,
like would then also still look bleak, but then you still need one win. If we lost against the Jets, and then you need 2 wins, obviously all you have to do is still just beat the Buffalo Bills to just get the division, and that's still something that's in the air. But
yeah.
you lose the Titans and the Jets back-to-back weeks, and then you have the gauntlet of the Cowboys, of the Ravens, and then the Bills. Look, I never truly thought we were missing the playoffs, but you have to acknowledge that for a time that at the very least was possible.
It was possible, but like I still wasn't buying into it. I was
I
like
wasn't either.
99% sure we're making the playoffs, and I'm still very confident that we can get the number one seed. Whereas, Mr. Pessimistic over here, uh, we had a literal conversation what a day before the Cowboys game, and you thought that there was a greater chance that we missed the playoffs than getting the number one seed.
Look, you see this team
That's
right here?
one win versus three wins. Like,
HEAT. This is the only team of the South Florida sports teams that I root for, which is all of them, except for like University of Miami, FIU. They're relevant. Yes, I just called you. I'm irrelevant. Let's deal with it. Um, this is the only team that doesn't let me down. All right. This is the only team that when rubber hits the road, they impress. They quite the opposite of the other teams that I've dealt with as a South Florida sports fan. They last year as an 8 seed made the NBA finals in the bubble, made the finals. You know, we had the time with LeBron in winning those championships there. This is the only team that I've been able to root for as a South Florida sports fan that has given me regular happiness. Regular, not happiness, because happiness is temporary. Regular joy and peace of mind, all right? Miami Dolphins have not done that. Miami Dolphins have not won a playoff game in my lifetime. So, excuse me for sitting back and worrying about a team that I've literally never seen win a playoff game just make the playoffs.
Listen, you sound a little bit like Colin Coward there. Now, you know, we can talk about that a little bit. He was just going in on the Dolphins, talking about how we're crying for respect and stuff like that. And because of, you know, we haven't won a playoff game in 23 years, that we haven't won the division in 15 years. So, like, I understand all of that, but this is a different team. And it really is. It's a completely different team than 23 years ago. It's a completely different team than 2008. Completely different team than 2016. Like, we have a head coach. We have a defense. We have all that actually make me confident in this team. This team last year collapsed because of Tua's injuries. And injuries, I mean, like, he was concussed for, 10 games pretty much? Yeah, exactly. Throwing up gang signs. And we were a delay of game away from winning with our current third string quarterback away in Buffalo.
That's a little.
Don't give me that.
It's a little far fetched. He still had to go down and score. You know that, right? Like, we weren't winning.
Yes, I understand. We were moving the ball fairly well, and if it wasn't for that delay game, I think we probably could have came back because we was
Probably
only one
could've.
score.
Jeez, what a
Probably could have.
Probably could have.
Dude, it's Skylar Thompson.
Yeah,
it's Skylar Thompson. Exactly. And
exactly.
and we were within a delay of game away from being able to, like, go down and score. And we've learned from that. And now we have a healthy quarterback that has protected himself all season long. And, you know, we love to make fun of it. We love to make fun of it. The jiu-jitsu works. Getting the ball out quickly works. He's protecting himself. He's not taking unnecessary hits. He's not holding the ball too long. He's a lot more elusive than he was last year as well. It's funny because the Cowboys actually used Trey Lance on scout team because of his mobility.
Like, that's a bit too much, guys.
That was hilarious.
I know Cooper Rush ain't the guy to be moving around, but Tua is not doing that. You could have used Trey Lance for both at that point if you really wanted to.
Well, that just shows how Trey Lance just can't get the ball out of his hands quickly.
No, he just can't hit his wide receivers. Like, he's like Zach Wilson, but worse. True. Like, I think that's kind of like a forgotten narrative. Like, or not even narrative, but like he's Zach Wilson, but worse. But yeah, no, that I didn't buy into what Coward was saying earlier in the sense of, you know, it nothing he said was wrong. Like, this is an organization that you can't yet quite take seriously. Until you've actually done something, until you've actually accomplished something. We're trending in the right direction, but we haven't hit that first milestone. We haven't won a playoff game. We haven't, gone on the road in the playoffs. We haven't obviously won a Super Bowl. So there are still a lot of things to be proven, but I want to talk more about just the current team. And I think a more valid conversation is wondering whether we fully have truly squashed the narrative that this team can't beat good teams. Now, obviously, we can beat good teams. It's kind of shifted in, like, we are moving the goalposts a little bit. I don't know if I'm fully sold yet on this team coming against top teams. Now, we won. We beat the Dallas Cowboys, and this is still me being a pessimistic fan, a little bit, not quite ready to put all my chips in. Do you really think that we fully squashed that narrative about us struggling against good teams? Because I'll give my reasons afterwards, but I want to hear it from you first.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with you that we haven't fully squashed the narrative, because even if you looked at this game, Cowher did point it out, and I hated that he was right about this part. We scored 1 touchdown in the win against the Cowboys. Now, given we got into field goal position 5 times, and actually, technically, we were in field goal position 6 times plus the 1 touchdown. So we were in their side of the field 7 total times that game. Besides, I think actually we punted 1 time from their side. But yeah, so we were on their side of the field that many times in one single game. And that's a good defense. But that defense also is an elite defense. We can't forget that.
Especially on that side of the field. Like they stop teams from getting into the red zone a lot. They're the 4th best defense against teams getting into the red zone.
And aren't they the number 1 in takeaways on the season? And we had not 1 turnover.
No, they're not. That would be the team we're playing this week.
I thought you said they're 4th when we talked earlier.
No, not the Cowboys. No, that was.
I don't know. You said they're 4th least.
No, the Cowboys are actually 17th in turnovers on defense. Yeah. So
I thought you said they were the 4th. I thought you said the Ravens were the 4th least.
No,
maybe the Ravens talking about their offense.
Ravens most turnovers, most sacks. But yeah, no, continue.
But yeah. Anyway, we know that 17th is middle of the pack, but we still Tua has not thrown an interception in 4 games. Now he did have the fumble against Tennessee, but that's his only turnover in the last 4 games. That's our only turnover in the last 4 games was that fumble in Tennessee, or against Tennessee, I should say. That's what's going to need to happen. That's what's going to need to happen. And that's what helped us beat Dallas. Back to the narrative part. Not turning the ball over is going to be a big part of that, beating the narrative. We haven't completely beat it yet. We barely scraped by the Cowboys at home, who had proven to be an atrocious away team. Now, they played well. Dak scrambled well. There wasn't really much we can do. Defense balled, though. Defense, after the first 2 drives, they stepped up. And that's something that you need to squish the narrative.
Yeah.
I think if we beat the Ravens, that narrative would be completely gone.
Yeah, the game last week against the Cowboys, it was truly a go either way game. If that, I spoke in the 5 things we learned video, like if that game went on another 5 minutes, who knows if we still would have won. They had some momentum in that 4th quarter. It just happened to be that they scored, took the lead with 3 minutes left, and that was just all the time in the world to go down and score for the Dolphins and just seal the game away last second, kick that field goal. We didn't dominate. We didn't control. We never had control. Neither team had control. Early in that 1st quarter when they were driving, it felt like they could potentially just grab the game right there. And that fumble, while it's just one play and anything can happen in any game, that fumble I feel like really stung them. And that was a point early on in the game where your plays are still scripted. You still know exactly what you're going to do. And once you get down there, you expect to come away with points one way or another. But 1st and goal from the 1 to come away with 0 points, and then we capitalized getting 3 points off of it. I think that really stung their confidence. And they had questions coming into the game as well, just as much as we did. Their ability to go on the road and beat a good team. We had the question just beating a good team in general. So both teams were a little anxious. Both teams were afraid to show their full deck of cards from the jump. And it was just going to be a matter of who outlasts the other. And that's what the game came down to. Very entertaining, very happy about it. But we have 2 better teams coming ahead here. The Baltimore Ravens are the single best team in football with the single best player in football, the MVP, one of the best coaches. They've proven it in ways that we haven't. They've won Super Bowls. They've made the playoffs pretty much every single year that Lamar's been healthy and he's been the starter, winning playoff games. He's already won an MVP. We don't have quite that established history. 2 seasons now with Mike McDaniel, playoffs back-to-back years. Cool. Beautiful. It's exact right direction. It's exactly where you want to see us start. It's that next step. It's that taking that step. Only winning 1 game last year against a team with a winning record. This year, I've only won 1 game against a team with a winning record. We haven't quite squashed that. There are still things about this team. We played very physical. That was one of the big questions about this team, was the ability to play physical, to punch a team in the mouth. And they definitely without having their starting left tackle last week, that was a massive blow to their team. I mean, Bradley Chubb was in the backfield on every single play. Him or Andrew Van Ginkel, whoever was on that side, was in the backfield every single play. But we executed. You can give them their excuses, but we still came out and held up our end of the bargain, held up what we needed to do, which is go in there, establish the line of scrimmage. Tony Pollard had nothing going on. The whole ground game had nothing going on. Tony Pollard was our leading rusher, 38 yards, just over 3 yards per carry. That goal line stand obviously stood out the most. He was literally should have just walked into the end zone, and then Deshaun Elliott came and wrapped him, got that ball, from crossing the line of crossing the end zone. So we did everything we needed to last week, but there's still more that we need to go far from here. It is not quite proven. We have an example now of us being able to beat a good team, but it's not quite that's what we can do every single week.
Yeah, and I actually, back to that Elliott stop, I think him stopping Pollard on that one-on-one situation was the reason that they decided to give it to their fullback, and that failed exchange ended up happening because of that.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like a 2-for-1. Like, they stopped trusting Pollard on the inside because of that. They didn't think that he could get past our guys, and so they tried to do it with the fullback. Failed exchange, turnover on with the fumble. But yeah, I completely agree with you. It's gonna be hard. Like you said, we have 2 wins against winning teams in the last 2 years. I mean, if you want to count the Broncos at 500 right now, or they're below 500 right now. At one point, they were 6-5 at one point, or 7-6. They were 7-6 at one point. So they were above 500 for a brief moment, but they're back down to reality. They're going to end up finishing under 500
now, I think.
I believe they're 7-8. They still have a shot at the playoffs, but they're benching Russ. So it's funny that they could actually be playing for the division next week too. If they win this week and Chiefs lose out, then Raiders and Broncos are playing for the division title in Week 18. That's hilarious.
Dude.
Imagine the Chiefs miss the playoffs. Oh my god. Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
I mean, would you rather be us right now, or would you rather be the Chiefs?
Us. 100%.
I'm taking us 100%. They can only run the ball with one guy. He just got a concussion because his own guy kicked him in the back of the head. They have one. They have one. It's kind of similar to us. We aren't quite established, but we're trending in the right direction. They have one receiver who is not quite established, but trending in the right direction. Travis Kelce is getting older. The offensive line is getting worse. The defense has been good enough at times to carry them, but they only allowed 68 yards to Aiden O'Connell last week, and they still lost. Like, the offense needs to pull its weight, which it's currently not. At least with us, earlier in the season, the defense wasn't carrying its weight. The offense was, the best in the league, which it still is, and now the defense is caught up.
Yeah. Well, the defense really, like we talked about it before the stream a little bit. It's, I believe, 13th overall, you said, before. And since Ramsey has come back in the Patriots game, which was week 8, we've been a top 5 defense. So that made the world of difference, not having... when you play teams that have 2 really good receivers, like the Cowboys, like the Eagles, like the 49ers possibly in the Super Bowl if we get there, you need those 2 guys, or, at least one guy like Ramsey that Vic Fangio trusts to shadow someone like he had. Who was it that he shadowed last week? Not last week against the Cowboys, but against he shadowed Garrett Wilson when Xavier Howard was out, but he didn't let Xavier Howard shadow Stephon Diggs, and then Stephon Diggs burned us for God knows how long on Kader Kohu the entire game, and Eli Apple.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really fun to watch, but have Ramsey out there being able to have 2 good corners, one elite corner. Xavier Howard having a quietly really good season, but obviously coaching is telling us that he's not up to the same level as Ramsey. And I mean, let's be honest, he's not. Shout out from the Bahamas guys. Yo, what's up?
Dang.
What's up, Tinker? Welcome from the Bahamas, sir.
I'm trying to go down to the Bahamas. I need to go on a vacation.
Dude, we need vacations.
Maybe
after the Super Bowl.
Remember we were talking about going to Puerto Rico? No, it's not quite the
Yeah,
Bahamas,
good
but
times.
I'm still down.
But if you had to rank like your top 5 teams right now, what would it be? And give me in order. Like I know you're gonna say Ravens number one.
100%. Um, I'll go Ravens. I'm not knocking him that far. I'm going Ravens. I'm going Niners. I still think the Niners are the second best team in the league. Um, the next three that I'll go. It's hard to put these in an exact order, but I'm going Dolphins, Bills, Lions. I don't know if that's the
Okay.
order. I might. Okay, screw it. I'll do that exact order. I'll go Ravens, Niners, Dolphins, Bills, Lions. Am I
That
missing somebody?
that's it. Cowboys maybe.
Yeah, but we just beat them.
Yeah, I know, but I was wondering if you put them over the Lions. They
Well,
have
they play
a
this week, so we'll quickly get to find out.
yeah. So I'm gonna go the same order as you. I'm gonna flip the Cowboys in for the Lions just because their defense is better though. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go 40 Ravens, 49ers, Dolphins, Bills, and then Cowboys. Just because I believe the Dolphins can really beat any team in the NFL, and I'm not gonna say besides, but I need to see it actually happen with the Ravens this week. With if the Dolphins beat the Ravens this week, I'm confident that we can beat any team at any time, no matter what. If we play the Eagles again, I'm confident we're beating them.
Funny you
We play
should.
the Chiefs again.
Oh boy. Well,
We
so
play.
Liz just
We play
texted
the.
me. Liz just texted me about the Eagles, and she's already mad about that I didn't say the Eagles. Look, the Eagles,
Look, the
the Eagles,
Eagles.
They're struggling right now. I
They
when
are.
when when it comes to the playoffs, I assume they're going to be fine. They'll probably make the conference championship game. It'll be them, a rematch between them and the Niners, probably. Maybe the Lions sneak in there, play one of the two. But right now, this exact moment, look, they lost. What, 2 or 3 games? How many games in a row they lost?
It
At
was
least
it was
two.
three.
But
It was
before this
three, and
week.
it was three before this week.
And then you have the Giants have an opportunity to go down and tie the game with, they didn't expect Tyrod Taylor to be put in the game, and he went out there, kind of lit up the defense. The defense, switching to Matt Patricia hasn't really switched things, hasn't made anything much better. Jalen's clearly still hurt. Like, he's nowhere near as mobile as he usually is. But they're still an incredible team. I'd probably have them right outside that bunch. Right now, just based on what happened, I have to put the Cowboys right before them. I'd probably go Cowboys, Eagles, Rams, and then you can start talking about the Chiefs, and you can start talking about the Browns. There's a few other teams outside that. I think the Rams need a lot of credit for what they're doing. I mean, the rebuilt
100%.
offensive line. You've had Cooper Kupp miss a bit of time. You've had Kyron Williams miss a bunch of time. It's a defense that outside of Aaron Donald, how many pieces would you be clawing at to be a member of your team? They're just making it work. They've won important games. They easily could have beaten the Ravens in Baltimore just a couple weeks ago. I think the Rams are sneakily walking their way into the NFC, Super Bowl conversation. They're a team that I don't think anybody feels great about playing the Rams right now in that NFC. I know the Niners have already clinched the division, but they do have to. The Rams play the Niners one more time. That's the last game of the season, and that's going to be a massive tell for both teams as to what they're going to do in the playoffs. If the Rams can go to the Niners, even let's say the Niners, let's just say the Niners are playing for the number 1 seed, so they still have something to play for that last game of the season. Then if the Rams go in there and win, you can't tell me one reason why the Rams wouldn't be a Super Bowl team. I think they're a damn good
Yeah, I
team.
agree. I think the 49ers can clinch the number 1 seed with a win this week though. So I think they beat the Eagles head to head already.
Well, yeah, they did beat the Eagles head to head already.
So they would I think they're 1 game ahead of the. I believe they're 1 game ahead.
They have 11. No, because no. But they all have 11 wins. The Rams, the Eagles, and the Lions all have 11 wins. So
okay.
if they all win this week,
I
they all have 12.
I thought they were a game ahead. My bad.
I think because you just already in your mind decided that they were going to beat the Ravens, and that just didn't happen.
Yeah, I was because I my mind on after Sunday was, yo, we can clinch the number one seed this week. All we need is the Ravens to lose on Monday to the 49ers, which
Yeah,
is
the
very
Jets.
possible. And it turned out not to be very possible. And then the Jets to beat the Browns on Thursday night football. And then we just take care of business on Sunday. And then we clinch the number one seed and don't even have to worry about playing our starters against the Bills, who are just a physical team that always seem to have a massive injury against them. But we'll table that for next week.
Fingers crossed about that one. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
Ravens. I think obviously the first thing you have to talk about when you talk about the Ravens is Lamar Jackson. And we beat the Ravens last year, so a valid question in terms of, trying to scope out how to beat Lamar Jackson this year is, how did we do against Lamar Jackson last year? How did we stop Lamar Jackson last year? We didn't at all. 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, 119 rushing yards, a touchdown, that touchdown being on a 79-yard rushing touchdown. So if you take away that touchdown, he only had 40 yards, but you're saying if you only took away an 80-yard rushing touchdown, like, that's a big deal. He can bust that out at any point. Almost 450 all-purpose yards, 4 total touchdowns. What was one of the games of the year last year. So you look at what we did last year, and you kind of just throw that out. You can't really gain any knowledge from that game because he just utterly destroyed us. But what you can do is kind of look back to some of the games this year in which they've lost, or at the very least struggled. And most notably, they've lost against teams within their own division. 2 of their losses are against the Browns and the Steelers. They had a weird loss early on in the season against the Colts, but early on in the season, there's always always a weird game where a team isn't quite up to speed and they end up dropping.
I think that was a Gardner Minshew game too.
It was. Yeah, that was his first game starting, I think. But
yeah, I think that was a concussion game. Yeah.
Something that I think we can feed on is the fact that the 2 of the teams that beat him, the 2 games that you kind of want to look at, the Steelers and the Browns. What do they have in common? They play in the same division. They play them twice a year. What have the Dolphins done the last 4 years? We've played the Ravens single game, every single year for the last 4 years. We won last year, won 2 years in a row, at least 2 years in a row. I'm not sure about that third year.
Yeah.
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Did we win that one?
But we've had recent success in 2 very different games. Like 2 years ago, it was Thursday Night Football. It was an absolutely dud of a game. We had Jacoby Brissett starting, but Tua backed him up. Tua came into the game, helped us win the game. It was slow, it was weird, it was awkward, but we ended up winning. And last year, obviously, one of the games of the year. The key that I've seen...
we did not play them in 2020 because that was our tank year. Or the year prior was our tank year, so we didn't match up. We played them in 2019 for the season opener.
And
that was
demolished.
We already had some Ravens fans commenting on a couple of our videos saying that they hope it's like 2019 again. And I think they're just forgetting something that was our tank year.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure they do hope it was like that. It's just not the reality of the situation. Yeah. We had Minka Fitzpatrick back then. Remember that? Remember that guy was Dolphin at one point?
I mean, dude, I love Holland, but
what we've seen from the teams that have beaten, which I'm trying to get out of my mouth for a few minutes now, is the ability to get consistent pressure on Lamar Jackson, consistent pressure up the middle. And something that the 49ers failed to do last week was first of all, they didn't get a lot of pressure on him. But the times they did get pressure, they were not able to keep contained. They both on the outside and on the inside. Like that, the Ravens offensive line just dictated where they dragged around Bosa and Chase Young, except for that on that weird safety. Like they pushed them to kind of where they wanted. So even if they were getting some yards off of the line of scrimmage, they were being pushed out. They were being pushed to the side. Lamar was getting running room up the middle to the outside. He was getting whatever he wanted on the ground. It wasn't an insane statistical game, 252 yards in the air, 45 yards on the ground, but he was very comfortable. I'm not sure how many times he was sacked. Zay Flowers was seemingly opened all game. He's only sacked twice. He was able to just manipulate space, use space to his advantage, and if you can't get a hold on him, there's no chance you're going to beat this Ravens team.
First things first. Just got a notification that the Broncos are expected to cut Russell Wilson.
Wow.
So there's that.
Oh my gosh, Liz just texted me that.
Breaking news live on stream. The Broncos are expected to cut Russell Wilson.
Who needs Adam Schefter?
You got your boy Donovan.
Yeah, and you have courtesy of Diana Rossini. Also, courtesy of Alicia Hayes, my girlfriend.
Shout out, Liz.
Shout out to Tervalis. She's also Bohemian.
Yeah, that's actually wild. Anyways,
cut from the Broncos.
Hey, that's crazy, bro.
Russell Wilson to the Seahawks. Tell me I'm wrong. It's weird, but tell me I'm wrong.
We had that conversation earlier. Anyways, back to what works against
an actually good quarterback. Back to an actually good quarterback
in Lamar Jackson, MVP candidate.
I'm going to say he's the best quarterback in the league. Sue me. He's the best quarterback in the league.
I'm not going to take anything away from you there.
Patrick Mahomes. Not just this year, I think in general. He's better than Patrick Mahomes. We have now seen both quarterbacks with far from perfect situations. We're seeing what Patrick Mahomes is looking like with a less than perfect offensive line, less than perfect receiving core. We've seen Lamar Jackson with that. And he got the number 1 seed and he got an MVP. Sorry, go on, Donovan.
Yeah. Anyways, so in the game I'm looking at the Steelers game. One thing that stood out to me, I looked at a couple of the play-by-plays. They were able to get pressure but contain. And what that means is that even when your rush goes to the outside, you still have that pressure up the middle. And the Dolphins, that is something that they do very, very well on defense because, believe it or not, we have 2 of the highest sack leaders for defensive tackles with both Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins. I think they're both approaching 10 sacks on the season. I think the leading sack for a defensive tackle is actually on the Ravens. I believe that's Beaks. But other than that, defensive tackle wise, the Dolphins have some of the best pass rusher and sack getters.
Steelers at 8.5, Wilkins at 8.
Yeah, so both approaching 10 sacks, which for a defensive tackle,
damn good.
By the way, shout out Zach Sealer on the White Squad. If you know, you know.
I don't.
Mendenhall.
Oh, hey, yeah.
Yo, everybody was leaving Zach Sealer off. Everybody was leaving Zach Sealer off, and I'm like, bro, Zach Sealer, Ethan Bonner. They don't know about them white boys.
I mean, we don't know about Ethan Bonner really at all, so.
That's also true. He's just the only white corner ever. But yeah, the Steelers, they were able to get pressure but contain, and that's something that the Dolphins are really able to do. But one thing I would really like to see them do is, so they rush 4 a lot. I would like to see a 5th kind of just sit there in the middle zone as like a spy. I want to see like David Long or Duke Riley sit there as a spy. Even sometimes maybe Javon Holland or another safety, or even get Cater in there if it's a 2 wide receiver set. Get Cater in there as the spy. Someone that's a sure tackler that can, chase him down, because he's not only elusive, he's not only big and strong, he's fast as fuck. So yeah, with that kind of speed, you need someone to equate that and be able to run him down if possible. And we need to do a better job of containing him than we did with Dak. Like, Dak was able to scramble. We did a very good job for the majority of the game, but he's a lot more elusive than Dak is. So we need to be able to get there quick. That's another thing I noticed about against the Steelers, is that all of these plays, they were within 3 or 4 seconds of each other. So you look at the play-by-play, and it's literally 12:57, 12:50, 12:40, 13:41, 12:58, 12:53. Like, that's 5 seconds in between plays. Clock stops after an incompletion. Like that's just you're getting pressure. You make them throw it quick. You make them throw it quickly. Hopefully they're not open in the zone. That's another thing. I know you wanted to talk about it a little bit. Is we're gonna have to play a lot more zone than we're used to. Now we have played a lot of zone this year and compared to years past. It's like a 52-48 split, more man than zone. I saw that stat somewhere on Twitter the other day. Hope it's not wrong.
I respect it.
You know, there's a lot of stats that are wrong. Also, a lot of stats that are right. I just can't find it anymore, so I hope it's right. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I love the honesty on that one. I respect it.
Hey, bro, I gotta be honest. I'm not gonna sit here and put out completely
guys,
false information and talk out of my ass.
I might be entirely making up exactly what I'm saying, but I'm gonna say it anyways.
But I do believe that we're gonna have to play a lot more zone coverage against this offense. Mostly because we talked about this a little bit earlier. We need to be able to keep eyes on Lamar Jackson. We need to be able to, like, if his scrambling ability, extending plays in man coverage, it's going to be really hard to stay on your guy for 5, 6, 7 seconds. Versus, you're in zone, you can pass him off. You can, if there's a ball thrown in your area, it's a lot easier to jump on that pass rather than trying to keep up with a guy for 7 seconds and then you're out of gas and he's gone. So zone coverage is going to be key for this game. And let's be honest, there's not really any stopping Lamar. You're going to have to slow him down. You're not going to be able. You're not going to. You're going to give him the plays. But you're just going to have to hope that bend don't break is pretty much going to be the key. And I hate that as much as the next guy, but that's going to be the way that we beat the Ravens. Is bend don't break. Give them the short stuff. Stop them. Sure tackle them, and just don't let the big plays happen.
Which is a lot easier said than done with this Ravens team. They're effective all over the field, and it obviously all starts with Lamar Jackson. Another thing is, I think you got to throw a bunch of different types of looks at him. You can't just play consistently one type of football on defense. And Donovan, you hit on how we do switch things around. It is almost like a 50-50 split, whether we play man, whether we play zone. We don't blitz a lot, but when we do blitz, it has been pretty effective this year, getting pressure to the quarterback. Causing that split second of doubt in a quarterback's mind when you don't know if what you're reading is accurate, whether it's truly a blitz, whether it's man, whether it's zone. That's why pre-snap movement is so important. You get a good read of the defense. But when you disguise coverages and you're not quite sure as a quarterback what's coming at you, that split second matters so much. And it matters less for Lamar as he's so elusive, and I genuinely believe he's the best quarterback in the NFL, especially as we've seen him now develop his ability to throw the ball. Like his stats don't back how good of a quarterback he has really become beyond just running the ball. 3,300 yards, 66% completion percentage, only 19 touchdowns so far this year. But this is a team that wants to run the ball. And they want to ground and pound it, including running the ball with Lamar Jackson. He is their leading rusher with 786 yards. 2 games left. He's probably not going to crack 1,000, but that's still an incredible output from a quarterback. On top of, he's probably going to finish around 4,000 yards. Probably going to be less than that unless he just balls out these last 2 games. Disguising coverages, well, unless it's all in that last game of the season. But by all means, go ahead. You cannot, like you said earlier, you cannot stop him. You can just hope that you contain, you minimize those big gains, minimize the big plays, and you just hope that you don't catch the team just kind of in awe of how good this guy is. Let's take a look at the injury situations for both teams. Obviously, the Dolphins, kind of sucks. One of the guys that we have on the thumbnail, Jalen Waddle, all but likely to not play this week. There has been slight reports, and I know you were talking to me earlier, like, they can't rule him out or whatever. He's not playing. Starting with he's not playing. He's not playing the rest of the regular season.
I'll talk about it later. Just go ahead, dude.
He's not playing the rest of the regular season.
Okay, I'll talk about it now. Look, you remember the title game where Waddle came back from his ankle surgery? He played in that. He could barely walk in that game, and he played in that game. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to draft him, is because of the heart that he showed in that game. So I believe that if he really, really, like, Tyreek missed a week because of his ankle sprain, and he played hurt on it last week. But I believe that if Waddle can go, he was on the sideline with his pads on. He was begging for his helmet back, even though he was limping on the sideline. He wants to go. And I think that if the Dolphins think this game is important enough, they're going to let him. Now, they have been overly cautious with injuries, but Mike McDaniel did talk about at a certain point in this season, we just got to let the players play if they want to play. Like, if it can make the injury worse, that's one thing. If it's just a pain tolerance, then that's another.
I think there's 0% chance he plays this week. If next week you're chalked down to, look, we win this game, we get the number 1 seed. Like, if we lose this week, I can find them being like, look, we're not getting the number 1 seed, so that means we're going to have to play in the first round no matter what. Let's just make sure our guys are healthy going into there. What's up, Cap?
What's up, Cap?
But beyond him, there's a bunch of other guys, a bunch of important guys that are on this injury report. Starting with Devon Achane, Terron Armstead, Robbie Chosen, who he got knocked out earlier in that game, so he's probably not going to be playing on the concussion protocol. Tyreek Hill, Robert Hunt, Raheem Mostert, Waddle, all of which did not participate today. Liam Eichenberg, Javon Holland, Xavier Howard, Austin Jackson, Tua, who I actually just read that for the first time, he's on the injury report, and Andrew Van Ginkel were all limited in some capacity. So a lot of big names. Every single one of those guys are very important. Those are all starters. Those are all except for Robbie. All those guys are important, massive pieces to this Dolphins team that going into the playoffs you want at your full disposal. And then you look over at the Baltimore Ravens. Zay Flowers, Kyle Hamilton, and Kevin Zeitler all did not participate. Of those three, I think Hamilton would be the most likely to miss the game, as he got hurt late on the game against the Niners, and it looked pretty painful. He didn't come back into the game after that. And then you have Jalen Armour-Davis, Arthur Mollett, Patrick McCarry, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, Jordan Stout, who is their punter actually, and Broderick Washington, all of which were limited. So they'd still have significant injuries of their own. Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, obviously Roquan is probably their best player on defense, 151 tackles leading the team. But still, Kyle Hamilton, Zay Flowers, Zeitler. We were talking on the phone, or I think earlier this week, or maybe even yesterday. Everybody's got an injury. Every team, every player, everybody's banged up. You're at this point in the season that you're either healthy enough to play or you're pretty damn hurt.
100%. I'm gonna agree with you there. With Kyle Hamilton, I'm not sure about Zay Flowers or Kevin Zeitler, but so the Ravens held a walkthrough today, partly because they had a short week this week because they played on Monday. So it was a walkthrough today, and they said that Kyle Hamilton was in the walkthrough. So I'm not sure if that kind of means that he's probably more towards limited than really anybody anticipates. So I do agree with you that Kyle Hamilton is probably the most likely to miss that game. I anticipate Kevin Zeitler and Zay Flowers playing. They've been in and out of the injury reports this entire time, and I don't see any reason for them not to play. As far as our guys, Achane, he's been dealing with a toe injury. They haven't had him practice on Wednesday for 3 straight weeks. He'll play. Terron Armstead, he'll play. Robbie, I don't think is going to play. Tyreek is going to play. That's partly a vet rest also, along with the ankle. Robert Hunt did not participate. However, Mike McDaniel spoke about him getting an uptick in reps this week, with hopefully an anticipation of him playing. So I think if he has a limited participation on Thursday and Friday, I think he has a good shot at playing. I think that if he doesn't practice on Thursday and practice Friday, if he is active, it's going to be kind of like Austin Jackson last week, where they're just going to roll with the lineup that they had in practice the majority of the week. Austin Jackson's going to play 100%. He's going to start. They didn't have him practice. They didn't have him play last week because they had Kendall Lamb practicing at right tackle, so they wanted more consistency up front with that. And Kendall Lamb plays pretty well as a backup tackle. Jalen Waddle is the biggest question mark on there, in my opinion. I think everybody else, besides Robbie's, going to play. Waddle, it's to me, it's more of like a 50-50 shot. I think if he's limited on Friday, I think he plays. If he did not participate the entire week, I don't think he does. It's going to be a big week for Chase Claypool. And by big week, I mean with Robbie possibly being out, Craycraft was a healthy scratch last week. Robbie with Waddle probably being out, he moves up the depth chart from number 5 or 6 all the way up to number 4. Probably even 3 if you move. And Braxton Berrios, kind of like him and Chase Claypool. It's gonna be interesting. This is where Chase Claypool needs to make his mark, needs to show why we traded for him, and I mean, we need to get him involved. And I think if we can get him involved and possibly make him that big red zone target, one of the reasons that we won last year against the Ravens was that throw and catch to Gesicki. That field that could make that catch was Gesicki.
God,
I know I
love bringing up that throw. It pains me how often you love bringing up that throw. The glazing you do to Mike Gesicki, dear God.
I said that throw is literally the only reason I wanted Gesicki back as bad as I did, is because what other person on this team before we traded for Chase Claypool was big enough to make a catch like that? Was big enough to go up and make a grab like that? There isn't anybody. To have a big body receiver like that, and we were talking earlier about, jokingly, but Ayuk, and how you rather have Ayuk over Waddle because of his big body and his hands, because he can go up and get the ball. That's another thing with Claypool. So if we can finally get him involved, finally get him some throws, and maybe he's the guy that we can throw a fade to and have to maybe not make it in a perfect pass, that just make it where it's a jump ball. Let him go and get it. He's the biggest guy on the field. Now's the time for him to show up.
All that to say, I still think there's absolutely zero chance Jalen Waddle plays. I mean, I'd literally, I'd bet about $100 to $5 that Jalen Waddle doesn't play. Like high ankle sprains. High ankle.
You're 100 to my 5.
I'm not literally doing.
You're 100 to my 5.
Dude, high ankle sprains.
I do that.
That's not just you walk it up. Like no, bro. High ankle sprains hurt. High ankle sprains. That's what Tyreek
I understand.
It's making those cuts, which is what he does so well. What this offense needs is those quick cuts. You're cutting up the field. You don't really know where that route's going to break off at, and just on a dime, you need to be able to cut in, cut out, post. Insert your route combination. If you're not able to cut like that, then you're nowhere near 100%. You might as well just rest up, because the inability to cut, the inability to be quick, make a quick change of direction is so imperative for these receivers. And we saw in Hard Knocks yesterday, like Tyreek was throughout the week of practice, he kept complaining about how much it hurt. He missed the game. That was leading up to a game where we assumed he was going to play. Waddle, all the reports are currently saying that he might be out for the season, not just the regular season, out for the season.
No. They're not talking about the season. They're talking about the regular season. They're talking about regular season. They're not talking about playoffs.
Because if we lose in the first round, that's 3 weeks.
Tyreek.
Wait, no. There's a chance that the season could only be 3 more weeks. There's a chance that he could miss each of those games.
Okay, with Tyreek though, it wasn't leading up to a game that he missed. It was leading up to the game that he actually ended up playing in. That was to this game.
So he already missed the game, and he's still in that much pain. He was able to go. There's obviously a better chance that he plays against the Bills.
Misspoke. Okay,
but
I
there's 0% chance in my mind that he plays on Saturday or on Sunday.
I think it's a solid 50-50, but
you're nuts.
You went completely backwards on that. I was talking about if Waddle doesn't play, we need Chase Claypool to step up, and you just completely ignored that.
Yeah, because we're talking about injuries. That's kind of the point of the segment. We're talking about injuries. Let's talk about the Ravens more. Let's just hop straight into our actual preview. And first thing we're going to do, we're going to look at the team stats for the Baltimore Ravens, starting off on offense. They're fourth in total points scored, fifth in yards, so top 5 offense. They do most of their work on the ground game. As Lamar Jackson, like I said, if you look at it just based off of Lamar's stats, it doesn't quite fully paint the picture of what Lamar Jackson has done so far this season, what this Ravens offense does. But they run the ball the most amount in anybody in the league. They get the most rushing yards anybody in the league. Most of their touchdowns come from on the ground. They're second in rushing touchdowns, whereas they're 17th in passing touchdowns. They're 6th in total touchdowns. They get to the red zone a lot. They get to the red zone actually more than anybody in the league. That used to be us at one point, and they've since taken that crown from us. They're very effective once they do get to the red zone, 2nd in red zone touchdowns, and they're good on all 4 downs, 8th on first down, 3rd down percentage, they're 10th in 3rd down percentage, I guess the one area where they're not so great. 4th down percentage, they're 15th, middle of the road. Don't turn the ball over, 6th fewest turnovers on offense. Lamar Jackson and co have been sacked the 13th most times in the NFL at 36 times. And then you look at the defense, and the defense oftentimes, especially in a modern NFL, doesn't get as much credit as the offense, but this genuinely is the best defense in football. They've allowed the least amount of points. They've gotten the most turnovers. They've gotten the most sacks. They've allowed the 3rd fewest plays run against them. You look all across the board. They're the best against passing touchdowns. They allow the fewest amount of passing touchdowns, allow the fewest most touchdowns in general. They allow the 11th fewest attempts in the red zone. Best on 4th best first down, 5th best third down percentage, 3rd against a 4th down percentage. Like, this is a very good football team. Everywhere you look on this team, there's Pro Bowlers. On the offensive line, quarterback, receiving room is finally getting upgraded. That's been the weakest point of this team for years. Has been the receiver group, and Zay Flowers is blossoming into a very good young player. And they still have the help from Nelson Aguilar, Odell Beckham, Rashad Bateman, who's been there for a few years. And then you look over on defense, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, a couple of guys might not play, Marlon Humphrey. I mean, there is just dudes on dudes on dudes all over on this Ravens team.
Pause.
Yeah. As soon as it started coming out of my mouth, I thought of it, but
and then he just kept going.
Exactly, I just kept going. I'm not stopping. But there's this team just has so much
talent.
Dogs. They're well coached. They have a good culture, ownership all the way down to starting quarterback. You have your coach, your quarterback, your GM, your owner, everything. I like everything about this Ravens team. I am kind of a fan of the Ravens. This is a
guys, unfortunately this man has been a fan of the Ravens since, what was it, the Super. Oh my God, you actually had that on the side. I hate you.
Yeah, when I went and grabbed this hat, I was like, let me get my Ravens hat out, because I do like the Ravens. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm an honesty broker, all right, guys. I tell y'all the truth. I'm not gonna hide from y'all the fact that Lamar Jackson has been my wallpaper. Not right now, but there's many times he's been my wallpaper. I had his jersey in there. Like, this is a damn good team.
Just to put it this way, like it when it comes down to Dolphins versus Ravens, he's obviously rooting for the Dolphins.
100%.
But
100%.
Any other time against any other team, his ideal AFC Championship game is going to be Ravens versus Dolphins.
I would be terrified. I'd be so that's like in pretty much all sports. I like two teams. You don't like it, deal with it. You root for your team. You root for sports how you want. I root for sports how I want. I like two teams pretty much in every single sport. Like, theoretically, best case scenario, you get your two teams in the finals. So one has to win, one has to lose, but one has to lose. So it's like that emotional sadness, especially if the second favorite team wins, because then you're a little bitter about it. Your favorite team lost. It just gets kind of weird.
Yeah.
Which is like every time the Ravens and the Dolphins play each other.
Not the last couple of years. I'm just
talking about in general. Like, it's kind of bitter for me whenever they play each other. Like, I obviously love the Ravens.
Yeah.
And if they win, I don't know if they do they clinch the number one seed if they win.
If they win, they clinch the number one seed because there is no way for the Browns to catch up to them. I don't think they're one game ahead of the Browns currently.
Are you busting out the ESPN playoff calculator?
I am not, but that's a very good point.
That's like the first time That's the first stream we've done. We haven't done a stream in 4 weeks, right? But like the last 3 that we did, every single time he tried to bust out the playoff calculator. It was absolutely
Well,
fantastic.
it hasn't been working on mobile. Let's see if it works now.
Okay,
All
now
right,
I
so if
got
the
it out. It's
Browns,
working on my laptop, so I got this pulled up. I'm just going
I
with
got it pulled up. So
I'm going with the Browns and Ravens winning. No. Wait, maybe. Wait, where's the
yeah, they clinched the number 1
Yeah.
seed
If they win,
if they because then they get to 13 wins, and there's no way Cleveland can catch up. The most they can get to is 12. So they
But-
clinch division and number 1 seed if they win.
But I'm saying even if the Ravens lose this week, next week. If the Ravens lose next week,
Yeah. I have it where the Steelers win that and the Browns.
Oh, yeah.
I picked it to where the Steelers win and the Browns win the last week of the season.
It's a 2-game gap. So there's so much to be played for between both these teams. Dolphins, you win the AFC East, first time winning it since the late 2000s. Guarantee a home playoff game. You still control your own destiny to get that number 1 seed. You would have to win next week to guarantee it. If you lose next week, by next week I mean against the Bills, there's still there's scenarios to be played for. You can still lose and get the number 1 seed. And for the Ravens, it's winning the division this week, and it's getting the number 1 seed this week.
It's crazy because if the Dolphins and Browns win this week, and the Browns win, the Ravens lose, and the Dolphins lose, the Cleveland Browns get the number 1 seed.
Joe Flacco, the
Joe Flacco,
the quarterback.
Imagine with their 4th quarterback.
The quarterback from the team last year that the Dolphins beat to get into the playoffs, who didn't score a touchdown last year.
Start that?
Yes, he did.
That's crazy.
Yes, he did. This is
That.
This is the best team we're playing all year. This is the best team in the NFL. They want to run the ball first. Like we mentioned, they've run the ball more than any team in the league. They have more rushing yards than any team in the league. They have lost their arguable 2 best running backs, or 2 of their best running backs. Obviously, way back yonder, the day before Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, J.K. Dobbins tore his, and then Keaton Mitchell's leg exploded 2 weeks ago. So that was sad to see. And he was a massive loss to this Ravens team. Obviously, they didn't feel it last week against the 49ers. But his explosiveness, the ability to catch out of the backfield, is something that you're not getting from Gus Edwards. You're getting a little bit from Hill. But with Gus Edwards, you're just getting a guy who's going to run in a straight line and try to run you over. Like, he's not quite as good as Derrick Henry, but in that same mold where he just wants to be stronger than you. He's taller than most running backs. He just wants to run through the offensive line. He's great in the red zone. He's got 12 rushing touchdowns this year. And then Justice Hill is more of the out of the backfield. Now that Keaton Mitchell's down, he's more out of the backfield, makes some catches, a little bit undersized, quicker. And then Lamar Jackson's the leading rusher out of all of them. You have a quarterback dual threat. You got to keep your eyes on him. He's gotten significantly better throwing the ball, and it makes sense since you now have significantly better wide receivers around him. I mean, you struggle to look at this team and find a glaring weakness. Is there any that come to mind for you?
There's not really a glaring witness. However, I also want to point out with their running backs that they're really good at chip blocking. Like, on blitzes, being able to stand in there and block for Lamar, they're really good at that. So the Dolphins have to be aware of that as well whenever they do choose to blitz. We could go in one of 2 directions. We could be like with Brian Flores era and just zero blitz them how many times?
Every play.
I think it was like 40-something plays that we zero blitzed. That was absolutely insane. And then there's also, the other side of it where we gave a lot of cushion with last year with Josh Boyer and just got lit up. They only punted twice in that game. The entire game, they punted twice. Yeah.
We were talking about earlier with Lamar Jackson. I think the best way to attack Lamar in this offense is throw a lot of different looks. Now, you have to always keep an eye on the backfield, whether that's while you're playing man, have a spy, or playing zone, and you just have everybody watching the quarterback basically at all times. But the ability to play different coverages, which this defense can do. You can throw different looks. You can blitz a safety. You can blitz up the middle of the linebackers. You can rush 4 guys and still get pressure on the quarterback. You can play man. You can play zone. You can play a man blitz, a zone blitz. There's so many different options that this team can play. You can attack from within, like we were talking earlier. Zach Zeeler, 8.5 sacks. Christian Wilkins with 8 sacks. You can rely on the outside. Bradley Chubb now with 11 sacks. Andrew Van Ginkel's had himself a great year. There's so many different pieces on this defense that can do very different things very well. You have 2 lockdown corners on the outside. They prefer to play man if they had it their way, but both can play zone. Both can play on an island. They can play just stick to your man, or they can both play in zone. The weakness maybe is in that slot corner. Cater Kahu has gotten exposed sometimes this year, earlier playing Stephon Diggs. And whenever he was lined up last week against CD Lamb was a bit of a struggle. But there's so many looks that this defense can operate with, and we have to use every one of those looks at our disposal to beat the Ravens.
Will Fangio use zero blitz, or will he go with probably go with what he usually does? Yeah. I do anticipate maybe a zero blitz in there every once in a while, but their receiving core is not like 2 years ago. 2 years ago they had Bateman and who else? Aguilar, maybe. Their 2 best receivers were like maybe the 60th and 70th best receivers in the entire football league.
They had they had guys on their team that are no longer in the NFL playing wide receiver.
Yeah, that's also correct, and they also have guys on their team that used to be their number 1, now it's their number 3. So, zero blitzing on that and just trusting. We had Byron playing back then too. That was the season that Byron was healthy. So we had Byron and Xavier Howard in their primes locking down just garbage wide receivers.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, given we have, Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, and I trust those guys on islands with anybody, Bateman burned Xavier Howard pretty badly for a 75-yard touchdown last year. He doesn't have the speed that he used to have, Xavier Howard, that is. So I can't really say let's not have a safety over the top every single time, but I do anticipate at least 1 or 2 zero blitzes.
Something that kind of gets overlooked that the Ravens do very well is they get the ball. Lamar can get the ball out of his hands really quick. Now, there's been so many times where you see when the defense rushes like just 3 or 4 guys, and Lamar will literally just stand there. Literally just stand there with the ball and just watch. And he's gotten he's improved a lot on breaking down defenses. The ability to throw the ball, it cannot be understated how much better of a throw the ball he is now from when he came into the league. But he can also get the ball out of his hands quickly, like with the wide receiver screens. It's very dangerous to just get sucked in and enamored by what Lamar can do with his ability to extend plays. That is the risk of the cover zero, is if you hit a guy for an outside screen, a wide receiver screen, and he gets past his man and the blocking assignments do what they're supposed to do, he's gone. You got nobody else there. And Zay Flowers is perfectly capable of taking a wide receiver screen to the house. He's a little bit undersized, about 5'9", 5'10", speedy, good hands, reliable. He's gotten better each and every week, it seems like, as the season's gone on, and he played very well last week against a good 49ers defense. I believe he had 9 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Was very comfortable. The wide receivers after that, you do lose some reliability, like with Rashad Bateman, with Odell, with Nelson Aguilar. Not having Mark Andrews is a massive loss to this team, but Isaiah Likely has stepped up well. He's a little more agile than Mark Andrews is. He's a little quicker, not as reliable, but you don't have a massive drop-off. He's certainly better than any tight end the Miami Dolphins have. You look at Dermot Smythe, you look at Julian Hill, the rest of the guys. He's certainly better than what we got going on there. What is the number one thing that comes to mind for you when you say we have to do this in order to win on Sunday?
We have to make red zone plays, both sides of the ball, but mainly on offense. I talked to you a couple times about this. I feel like we struggle more often than not in the red zone, and now you pulled up the statistics, and at the time I think we were like 71 or 72%, which is ridiculous on the season for a red zone conversion rate. However,
still very good.
5 field goals against it's still very good, but 5 field goals against the Cowboys, we didn't But if you look at all our losses, the Titans game, we couldn't punch it in. The Eagles game, couldn't punch it in. Chiefs game, couldn't punch it in. We didn't move the ball at all against the Bills. But like we were able to move the ball in almost every loss besides the Bills and the Cowboys game, but couldn't punch it in. And with the Ravens being the best defense in the NFL at, letting up touchdowns, letting up passing touchdowns at that, we need to be able to convert in the red zone or hit our big plays. And all of our guys, so we need to make sure that we're able to convert in the red zone. And that kind of goes for both sides. The defense, like I said, offense more than defense, but the defense has been really good this year. But also, you need to be aware of Lamar's scrambling ability, being able to just use his legs to score a touchdown if need be. That's going to be an area like, yeah, you're a little bit more. They have less area to work, but it's also, if Lamar needs, probably get that with his legs almost every time.
So to me, a massive key would be to the secondary guys. Now, when I say secondary guys, I'm not talking corners and safeties. I'm talking about the lesser known guys on this team. Some more casual fans, maybe not recognize them or know them by name. It feels like every single week we've had one particular guy who is not, he's not Tyreek, he's not Jalen Ramsey. You've had Andrew Van Ginkel. You had last week Jason Sanders. You had earlier in the season Devon Achane. Last year times River Craycraft. There's always been that guy that has stepped up. And even if there's not a one particular player that steps up on Sunday, we need the entire 53-man roster that if you're called upon to play your role well. Because we took a look at that injury report earlier. I mean, there's a chance that you're missing, some of the guys that didn't practice. You're looking at Devon Achane, Teron Armstead, Tyreek Hill, Robert Hunt, Raheem Mostert, Jalen Waddle, like that whole list. We're still waiting for Javon Holland to come back. Xavier Howard's on that list. Like, there's incredible players on that injury list. Some of our best players are on that injury list, and some, may not play. There's a chance Raheem Mostert missed. We argued about it earlier, but, at the very least, likelihood is Jalen Waddle doesn't play one way or another. You're going to have to look at the Cedric Wilson. You're going to have to look at the Jeff Wilson. On defense, Deshaun Elliott, are you going to make another key play like you did on that goal line stop last week and on that first play of the game? Duke Riley, he might be tasked with being a spy for Lamar Jackson, as I think he's like a little bit quicker than some of our other middle linebackers are. Who is going to be that guy to step up? If it's not one in particular, all of them need to elevate their game as, again, this is the best team in the league. Both sides of the ball, so many things that they can hurt you with, so much talent, so much Pro Bowlers, potential Hall of Famers all over this team. We've done enough yapping. We've talked a lot about the Ravens. We're an hour 10 into this stream right now. Donovan, how is the game going to go on Sunday?
Man. All right. So this is how the game's going to go. It's going to be just a hell fest of a back and forth in the first half, just punching each other in the mouth with just touchdowns after touchdowns. And it's going to be tied 28-28 at the half. However, this game is going to finish 34-31 Miami.
I do not think it's going to be a slugfest on offense. I think it's going to be very comparable to last week's game against the Dallas Cowboys. I think both teams, you're going to see the talent. Tyreek Hill maybe gets hit with a long touchdown over the top. He had 2 of those last year in the second half. I think 2 specifically in the fourth quarter, and including the one to tie the game. You're going to see those. You're going to see a big play or 2, but I think it's going to be ugly. I can see Lamar Jackson finishing like around 220 yards in the air, call it 60 yards on the ground. I can see Tua, 260 yards in the air, a touchdown or 2. I can see us easily rushing under 100 yards total with Raheem Mostert being hurt, with Devon Achane being hurt. Jeff Wilson has never been asked to be the number 1 running back this year. And last week he was that number 1 running back on that game-winning drive, and he did a good job. But there's so many injuries. Everyone's really beat up on both sides of the ball. It's, I'm not sure what the weather's going to look like, but it's the East Coast, a little
It's
bit
gonna
northern.
be.
It's probably going to be cold
It's
and
gonna
windy
be
one way or
cold.
another way. One way or another, it's going to be cold and windy, whether it's raining, whether it's even snowing. I don't see this being a pretty game like last year when we're playing them in September. It was sunny. The weather was fine. Nobody was really beat up of note except for like Byron Jones at the time. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be a very ugly game. Last week, I predicted the Cowboys to win. And my mentality was like, look, we struggle to play against good teams, but also against the Chiefs, against the Eagles, I predicted us to win, and we lost. The Bills, I predicted us to win, and we lost. So, Jacob, are you going to do the same thing and predict the Dolphins to lose this week in hopes that they win? No, I'm predicting the Dolphins to win. I'm going to go with Miami Dolphins 24, Baltimore Ravens 21. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be ugly all game long. I think the teams are going to struggle in multiple ways, struggle to move the ball. I'm talking turnovers, interceptions, injuries. A lot of things are going to go wrong for both sides of the ball, for both teams. And I think both teams are going to walk away respecting each other, no matter who wins. I don't think we're going to feel better or worse about either team. If we win, obviously we'll feel better. But it's going to be a rough game. It's going to be stressful. We're going to be sitting there in the chair. You literally might be sitting right there watching the game with me. So we're going to be stressed. We're going to be tense the entire game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout one way or another. But I think it's going to be an exciting game. You can win the division. The Ravens can lock up the number 1 seed. There's so much to play for. It's December football. Both teams are the only 2 teams in the AFC to clinch playoff spots, but it's so important that they win this game. Continue to control your own destiny, which both teams do. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere around the high 40s at kickoff.
Woo! That's a bit brick.
With it's going to be cloudy though.
Is it going to be raining or just cloudy?
No, just cloudy.
Okay, because I remember that Tennessee Titans game 2 years ago, where if we had won that, we would have made the playoffs. Hey, look, that game. No, thank God we lost that game. Thank the Lord we lost that game. You know why?
Fire Brian Flores.
Mike McDaniel would not be the Miami Dolphins head coach.
Actual.
Maybe,
speaking of, we can go a little off topic now.
Yeah.
Brian Flores having a fantastic year as defensive coordinator for the Vikings. Clearly going to be a head coaching favorite next offseason. Where do you think he goes?
I don't think he gets a job.
Really? He was offered Arizona's job, my inside sources told me, but he turned it down.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's talking. I muted myself and pretend I was going to say it.
I know.
Nah. I think, Arizona was kind of desperate for somebody, and they needed a guy.
Yeah.
They wanted an alpha guy to come in and right the ship and fix the room, fix the energy in the room. They didn't get that.
What's available right now? So available right now, Chargers, Raiders. I think the Raiders keep their interim guy.
I do too.
I think they should. Panthers, they're the favorites to get Ben Johnson at the moment. It's a possibility that the Falcons,
Patriots.
the Bears, Patriots, and the Commanders all have an opening.
If the Cowboys lose in the first round.
No, I think Mike McCarthy's safe. He's a puppet.
I don't.
He's a puppet.
I disagree. I mean, he is to an extent, but Jerry Jones is about to die. So, what good is a puppet if they're not winning you championships?
But he praised him even after the 2 losses back to back. He praised Mike McCarthy. Given what else are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
But But also, when have you known Jerry Jones to hold his tongue?
Look, hey, Belichick to the Cowboys.
Oh,
Who says no?
Disgusting.
Who says no?
I do.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that one, dude. Belichick to the Cowboys. I mean, hey, he's no longer in our conference, and if we win the division, they're probably not going to win the division, so we don't have to.
Robert Kraft is one of the best owners in the NFL. He's going to hire a competent head coach.
That's easier said than done. He is a good owner, but
he has to hire a GM as well. That's the biggest thing that it's going to be, is that he's going to have to hire a GM.
And what about this Patriots team is appealing, other than the fact that they're probably going to have a top 5 pick? I mean, what's the current draft
They
order?
they have lots of money and lots of good underrated players.
Who? Lots?
Don't the Patriots have,
They're,
don't the Patriots have like top 5 in cap space?
no. Who are these lots of underrated good players that you speak of?
Christian Gonzalez, Matt Judon. They have a bunch of guys on defense, not on offense. Ramondre's kind of like, he's there, but their offense besides him, Mario Douglas is actually pretty good. But other than that, their offense is shit.
Currently, they have the 4th draft pick. So let's assume
their defense is really good though.
Let's assume Caleb number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals, Drake May to the Commanders. So you get your 3rd choice at quarterback. And don't get me wrong, I love the 3rd choice. I love Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels could be the best quarterback in the draft. I think he could very well be like Kyler Murray, but his head screwed on straight a little bit more. But still,
his NFL comp was Lamar, actually. It's kind of funny.
There you go. You get the 3rd choice at quarterback. You have virtually zero talent on the team, especially on offense. And this is an offensive league. I mean, let's just take a shot at them while we can. Devontae Parker sucks. Mike Gesicki sucks. Hunter Henry sucks. Something Brown, whatever his name is, he sucks at tight end. Juju's your best receiver, sort of, kind of. Well, I guess Pop Douglas is now, but he's a 3 on like any team. He's a gadget guy on pretty much any other team. Like he's a poor man's Tank Dell, is what he is.
I was gonna say he plays like Tank Dell.
He's a poor man's Tank Dell in this offense.
Tank Dell is a freaking nature.
Yeah,
I love him.
Tank Dell has a very promising future. Pop Douglas, maybe, decent rookie year. Has shown some playmaking ability, has shown some athleticism. So you have that. You also have the mental side of, you are replacing arguably the greatest coach in NFL history. If he goes on to another team, all he needs is 2 years, and he's going to break Don Shula's record. So you're replacing the GOAT. We see how Mac Jones is handling that, replacing the GOAT. You're going to have to bring somebody in. You can't bring in a Ben Johnson. You can't bring in Chargers offensive coordinator. What's his name? Kellen Moore. You can't bring in Kellen Moore. You can't bring in a younger guy. You're going to need to bring in somebody with some experience. Do you go? Let's say the Titans fire Mike Vrabel. Do you really feel like Mike Vrabel is going to be a great experience with the New England Patriots? Do you really feel like Brian Flores is going to be a great experience with the New England Patriots? Because that to me feels very likely. If Brian Flores is going to get a job, it's going to be with the Patriots. I don't see the Patriots being able to go get a John Harbaugh. I don't see them being able to go or even wanting to go get a bright young coach. Kind of like similar like with us with Mike McDaniel. There's nothing about that job that, and also, by the way, next year you have to play against the Miami Dolphins, who potentially be the number 1 seed this year, the Buffalo Bills, who are still great, and Aaron Rodgers. So there's nothing about that job to me that's appealing.
It is what it is.
Absolutely nothing. And they could continue to slide if they win this week. They already beaten the Bills once. They could continue to slide down that draft order. I don't know how I think tiebreakers go based off strength of schedule.
Bro, if they beat the Bills, I will be so happy.
You and me both. But
like not only because they clinch it, I'm not even just saying because like then if they beat them, then it doesn't matter about our game with the Ravens, about the division or whatever, or week 18 with the division. It just makes me happy because it's one step closer to the Bills missing the playoffs. And we kind of talked about this earlier, like the 2 seed is very appealing because that means that first round we get the 7 seed, who probably won't be the Bills. It's probably going to be like the Colts or the Texans.
Yeah.
Or even the Bengals. Whereas if we're the 1 seed, then we're probably going to end up playing, given it's the divisional round, we'll probably end up playing the Bills, who are like the 5 or 6 seed, or I would love to play the Jaguars, actually.
I would love to play I might want to play the Jaguars more than the Colts, honestly. Like, they are a mess. They are, are they a top 15 team in this league right now? Trevor Lawrence has regressed. They can't run the ball. They obviously are still without Christian Kirk. quietly.
Christian Kirk's going to be back for the playoffs,
Yeah,
though.
he will. Probably. That's not a guarantee. Probably. Calvin Ridley had a quiet, good game last week. It didn't really matter that he had a good game. I mean, they got torched. Hey, the Buccaneers are a legitimate team. That NFC is looking.
They are.
The NFC is looking. The playoff situation is looking a lot better than we thought it would be because the Buccaneers looks like they're going to win the NFC South. The Rams looking like they're going to be a very viable playoff team. So the 4 seed, if the Buccaneers upset the Cowboys in the first round, would you be surprised? If the Rams upset the Lions in the first round, would you be surprised? I don't think anybody would. I don't even remember what the point of saying that was. Oh yeah, because the Buccaneers just destroyed the Jaguars.
Yeah, like this. I was shocked.
You shouldn't have been though. If you really look at that team, I mean, the Jaguars have a few injuries, but they've just been falling apart both emotionally and just.
But like Todd Bowles is just not a good head coach.
No, he's not. But I forget his name.
Their offensive coordinator.
Coach, yeah, he was a former quarterback coach. The offensive coordinator was former quarterback coach of. Crap, I forgot what team it was. But he's doing a very good job with Baker in this offense. Mike Evans is having himself a career season, as he does every single year. Mike Evans just continues to find a way to have career seasons. I mean, tell me one reason Mike Evans is not a Hall of Famer.
He is. 10 straight seasons with 1,000?
I don't know if it's quite 10, but...
Dave Canales.
This is, dude, the playoffs this year, take away the fact that we're Dolphins fans, right? And obviously the Dolphins are in the playoffs, and that's exciting. There is so much to like about the playoffs this year. You look at every, maybe the 7 seed for the NFC isn't going to be that exciting. But everywhere, every other team in the playoffs, AFC and NFC. You look at the AFC, just Ravens, best team in football. Dolphins, we're Dolphins fans, so obviously automatically excited. But high power offense. 3rd seed, the Chiefs, they're collapsing, so they're actually going the other direction, which makes it even more exciting. Jaguars, they have upside. They could get things. They could right the ship. The Browns, 4th string quarterback Joe Flacco, they could still end up as the 1 seed. They just destroyed the Texans last week. Buffalo Bills, damn good football team. Colts, backup quarterback, getting it done. Who cares? NFC, 49ers, 2nd best team in the league. Eagles, nothing's quite going right for them right now, but still a top 10 team. They still got to the Super Bowl last year. They can still follow that same path this year. Lions, first time they've won the division in, how many centuries it feels like? Dan Campbell, inspiring, fun to watch. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl before, lost, could right that wrong. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, second half of the season has been absolutely on fire. Dallas Cowboys, America's team, don't have to talk about that too much. Los Angeles Rams, if they got to the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be extremely surprised. And then just whoever ends up as the NFC 7 seed, whether it's the Vikings, whether it's the Saints, whether it's the Seahawks, no one really cares about that. But I'm so ready for these playoffs to start.
Dude, I'm so excited about this year, and it's funny because if you look at the possibilities, I finished this. There's a possibility first week, Buffalo at Baltimore, Houston at Kansas City, Cleveland at Jacksonville, Rams at Eagles, Seattle at Detroit, Dallas at Tampa Bay. There's also a real possibility that it's flipped where it's the Rams going to Detroit also. And that's a cool storyline because they just swapped quarterbacks.
Oh my gosh. Dude, there is so much.
There's so many scenarios. Okay, so if the Rams win out, which I believe I have them doing here, the Rams win out and the Lions win out, which I have them both doing, it's going to be Los Angeles as the 6th seed and Detroit as the 3rd seed, and they're going to be playing each other.
That's the matchup I want to see. That
100%.
I want the Lions. Who else could they be playing? They're not going to play the Cowboys because the Cowboys at worst are going to be the 5 seed. But I don't want it to be the Vikings. I don't want it to be the Saints. I don't want it to be the Seahawks. That's the matchup I specifically want. Those 2 teams going together. You have the potentially next year, Ben Johnson could be the youngest head coach in the NFL going against the current youngest coach in the NFL in Sean McVay. 2 bright offenses, Jared Goff, Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford comes back, the Lions fans gonna be conflicted because they still love themselves some Matt Stafford, but they got to root against them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll wrap it up.
We don't know yet, Trav. We don't know yet. I think it's more of a 50-50 shot. Jacob thinks it's no shot. It's a high ankle sprain. We don't know. We don't know the extent of the high ankle sprain. Mike McDaniel has not yet ruled him out. He did not participate today. I think if he doesn't participate, then he doesn't play. But let's play a quick game.
No, I can't. I don't have the energy to do that right now. I wanted to end it. I want to end it on just today. Today, tell me who your Super Bowl favorite is. Who's going to make the Super Bowl from both conferences?
Dolphins or the Niners? Don't you do it. Oh my God.
It's going to be the Ravens. It's going to be the Ravens and the Niners.
All right, so here's what Dolphins get the number 1 seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's going to be Baltimore, or it's going to be Buffalo at Baltimore. Baltimore's going to take it. Houston at Kansas City. Houston?
No, I'm going Kansas City.
All right, we'll go with Kansas City for the benefit of the doubt. Cleveland at Jacksonville. I'm taking Cleveland.
Yes.
That means we get Cleveland. Baltimore gets Jacksonville.
I don't want to play Cleveland.
No.
I don't want to play Cleveland.
Hey, hold on. Let me look at this again. Yeah, it'd be we get Cleveland. Okay, where? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we get Cleveland, and then Baltimore gets Kansas City.
I don't want to play Cleveland.
All right. So you rather have the second seed then? So the second seed.
I'd rather have the first seed.
First seed. Cleveland has it. They're the 5th seed. Unless they pass Baltimore, which means Baltimore has to lose the last 2 games of the season, which means losing to the Steelers. Still possible.
They are lost in one.
Unlikely, but they're two home games.
Yeah.
2 home games. Possible, not highly likely.
Probable.
If that's the case, then we play the Ravens at home. If we have the one there's would you rather face the Browns at home or the Ravens at home? I'd rather face the Browns. I think I am more confident in our defense shutting down their offense.
Wait, you're telling me this is the second round that we're talking about?
The second round.
How on earth would we play the Ravens at home in the second round?
If the Ravens are the 5th seed.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. Because in that case, it would be Cleveland.
I'd rather play Cleveland than Baltimore. Like I'm not gonna get hyperbolic here. All right, the Ravens are the best team in the league right now. I'd much rather play the Browns than play Baltimore. But I'm just saying, like, is it crazy? No, I'm not gonna go as far to say I'd rather play Cleveland or I'd rather play Kansas City than Cleveland. But like,
I'd rather play Kansas City than Cleveland.
No. Like that's too disrespectful. Like they're still the Chiefs. Like they have the experience. They've been there. Best quarterback, best coach. Second best quarterback.
So out of all these teams, given if the Colts win that, I'm trying to figure out the possibility of if can they. Damn. I don't think there's a possibility. Wait, is there a possibility? The only possibility of the Bills winning this week and missing the playoffs is if the Bengals win out. So the Bengals would have to beat the Chiefs and beat the Browns.
Funny you should bring up the Bengals. Do you want to hear something so sad?
Oh my God.
So Orlando Brown, his wife was pregnant and she gave birth last weekend. And he, since it being a pretty pivotal game, he decided to play in the game, and he was not able to be there for the birth of his son, just for the Bengals to get destroyed 34-11.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he said he FaceTimed his wife immediately after game. He said, "I'm thankful she understands. My family understands. For me, football is kind of everything right now. You don't really get this opportunity back. You don't get the opportunity to see a birth either. Yeah, it's really a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like you miss your son's birth,
Yeah,
but you miss,
but
potentially.
that's why you gotta conceive at the beginning of the season, so the birth happens in the off season.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they're thinking. Okay,
These
I need to go
rookies,
get
bro.
food. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank y'all very much for being a part of this. Liz, I don't know how you still cannot comment on these videos, but Liz, I love you. I appreciate you tuning in. Damn, we are finishing with 17 viewers. That's like our highest viewer on a live stream. So we appreciate all of y'all very much for tuning in. Thanks to Tervalis, Cap, Frederick, Trav, James. Welcome back. Or welcome down.
I just want to throw out the fact that the receivers for Baltimore dropped 8 passes during the Steelers game. Should have been a blowout.
Yeah, no, they did. That was
hey, fair enough. Yeah,
did.
that I do remember that Lamar Jackson has like one of the highest drop rates in the NFL. I believe. Oh my fuck. I believe Lamar's like the top, and then after that it's like Mahomes and Tua. So stop. Oh my god.
Guys, I promise. Wait, let me go get a Dolphins hat too.
This man. I can't believe this man. Yeah, I need y'all to just troll this man. Be like, oh, fake fan, everything, just everything in the comments. Just drop it in the comments. You belong in a special school.
I have a bit of autism. It's okay.
Bit of
Crap.
fake fan.
I don't know where my Dolphins hat is.
See, he doesn't even know where the Dolphins hat is, but yet he made sure that he had the Ravens hat on standby. This fucking guy. I hate you.
I know you do. I hate myself sometimes. I look in the mirror at 3 a.m. and tell myself that. Yeah, thank y'all very much for watching. Everyone who joined, everyone who's still here, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. I promise I'm a Dolphins fan first. I just also love the Baltimore Ravens. If you want more content from us two idiots, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you missed any bits of the stream, we will be putting out videos for the rest of the week, as well as some other videos covering Dolphins. We post pretty much daily. I post pretty much daily. Maybe you'll see more of him every now and then. But we appreciate y'all very much for watching. Love you, Donovan. Just wanted to poke that they've seen a lot of my face recently. I'm just saying they
I've literally had comments. I've had comments on my video that have said, "If you're a co-host, where's your other co-host? Because we don't ever see him."
That was
I have
like
not seen
4
that on
or 5
videos.
months ago. When I was, that wasn't 4 or 5 months ago. That was back in April and March when I was
No,
with
that
the FAU
was
tournament.
No, that was more recent. It was at the beginning of the season.
All right. Y'all take it easy. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be back next Wednesday with another live stream again. Videos pretty much daily. If you come here for